What's going on, guys? It's Rapid Reform here. In today's video, we're going to cover an interesting topic, which is goal setting. And I say interesting because when it comes to achieving goals, there are an endless number of formulas that people have come up with which allows them to get what they want. And there's not really one specific formula that everyone is going to agree with. So instead of giving you a step-by-step guide, I will give you a more generalized set of principles that apply to just about any goal, since the more specific details really come down to the goal itself. However, if you follow these general principles, I guarantee that whatever goal that you have for yourself, the chances of you achieving it will skyrocket. In this video, we're going to cover 3 tips to getting your goals that you must ingrain within yourself, which are specifying your goal as much as possible, the dedication you need to get there, and the strategy you need to put your efforts in the right direction. So let's get into it. The first tip to getting your goal is to write it down. Don't just keep it in your head, and don't just say it out loud. I promise you that writing it down and keeping it in a place that you regularly go to, like your bed, your sink, or your fridge, will keep you accountable. And also, when you write down your goal, you need to make your goal as specific as possible. For this video, I'm going to use an example goal that I achieved back in high school. I absolutely love to run, and one goal I had in high school during track and field season was to run 1 mile in under 5 minutes. As ambitious as that may sound, I actually knew I had a solid chance of breaking that time, and I ended up running a time of 4 minutes and 57 seconds. But back to the topic. A good way to specify your goal would be to add numerical values for both what you want to achieve and by when you want to achieve it, just like I did in my goal. So instead of saying something like, I want to get better eating habits, a better way to say your goal would be, by eating healthier foods, I want to lose 5 pounds in the next 30 days. So by writing your goal down as specifically as you can and keeping yourself accountable, you will establish the foundation of your goal. But from then on, the other 99% of the work that's needed to reach your goal will be about putting in the work to get there, which brings us to the next tip. The second tip to reaching your goal is that you must be dedicated to reaching it, which sounds very simple, but it's something that many people lack. That is why only about 8% of all people will stay true to their New Year's resolutions. Here's the thing, many people say they want to achieve great things, but most of them don't really mean it. Most people would rather put in efforts to doing things like partying, shopping, drinking, and having fun than they would towards their goal. I'm not saying having fun is bad, but I'm saying that deep down, your goal must mean more to you than anything else you could have alternatively. Ask yourself, how badly do I really want to get this goal? Am I really willing to put in the work to get what I want, especially during hard times? To help you out, I have some tips for you. When it comes to dedication, it is very important that you have a reason why you are working towards your goal. Your why is the driving force that will always push you to get what you want. For example, when I wanted to run a sub 5 mile, my why was that I wanted to emphasize to myself that I could achieve anything I want if I put in the right efforts, regardless of what anyone else thinks I'm capable of. There were a ton of people who thought I could not have ran a sub 5 mile, even my own teammates. But I used that as motivation to prove them wrong, because my why was greater than their doubt. So give yourself a reason why you want to achieve your goal, and going back to that will uplift you during the hard times. Another tip is to know your reward for achieving your goal. It is normal to dream about the goal and what it is like when you get there, but you also need to take action every single day to get from where you are now to where you want to be. When I was trying to run my sub 5 mile, I was visualizing the joy and satisfaction that I would get once I finally got there. How much better my track team would have looked with that fast time, and how much more respect I would get from my teammates, which I wasn't necessarily seeking, but I'll take it any day. I thought about all of those great things, and I forced my reality to put in the work to get there. And you can do the same as well with your goals to increase your motivation. Another tip, which is arguably the most important, is to have a plan during tough times. Tough times are dangerous for many because it makes them feel like they cannot get what they want, which makes it easy for them to quit. Here's the thing, whatever your goal is, it really does not matter what sort of low point you hit. What matters is that you keep moving forward, realizing that it's not too late. What matters is that you figure out what went wrong and work on your weaknesses so that they can bring you up instead of drag you down. Before I ran my sub 5 mile, I failed so many times. I ran a 5:12, 5:13, 5:15, 5:10, and even a 5:04. I'm sure you can imagine how frustrated I was every time I got so close but I didn't make it. But every time I failed, I would look back at the race and find out what went wrong, whether it was my pacing, my shoes, or the workouts I did beforehand. And on my last try, I finally made it. So whatever your goal is, you need to go into it knowing that you may not necessarily get the result that you want. So if you do fail, have a plan for getting better for the next attempt, and that will always improve your chances of eventually getting what you want. A final tip for dedication is eliminate all possible distractions. We live in such distracted environments that always take us away from our goals. For my goal, some of the distractions that I had were other people, the burns I would feel in my legs during the hard and painful workouts, and other fun events that would get in the way of my workout schedule. The thing is, a lot of the time, reaching your goal is usually about getting rid of all the distractions. It would have been very easy for me to give in to all the distractions I had, but if I made easy choices, I probably would not have gotten what I wanted. So keep your cell phone and other gadgets away unless you really need them. Don't listen to people who will tell you that you can't do it. And don't do things that may make you happy for the moment, but will reduce your chances of getting your goal in the long term. Alright, now that we have talked about dedication, the other puzzle piece that you need is your strategy. Dedication alone will not get you what you want. You may be putting in all of your efforts, but unless you put them in the right direction, it will be meaningless. Strategy is what puts your efforts in the right direction. Now, when it comes to strategy, the specific plan that you need will really depend on the individual goal. But there are some rules of thumb that you should follow that will help you. The first tip for strategy is to write out all of the factors that you know or you can look up that will impact your ability to reach your goal, and know the weight of each factor. The more weight a factor has, the more emphasis you need to put on it. For running a sub 5 mile, about 60% of my performance will come from how physically and mentally prepared I am, which is where I will put most of my attention. 5% comes from diet, 5% from hydration, 5% from the shoes I wear, and 5% from my pacing strategy. The other 20% would be my natural genetics, which I cannot do anything about. And that is why I only focus on the factors that I can control. I focus most of my energy on getting the runs in, doing all the workouts I can, and keeping control of my mind to not let it slow me down. And after that, I work on the little things that still impact my performance, like diet and hydration. One thing that can help you is use other people who have achieved your goal as a reference point and try to replicate what they do. But if no one has done it, then try out all the things that you can and be the first. Difficult does not mean impossible. The second tip for strategy is to break your goal down into smaller tasks. It is common sense, but we usually forget that marginal gains are almost always easier to get than big goals. By breaking your goal down into smaller goals, you will be able to focus step by step to eventually getting to where you want to be. In fact, breaking your goal down will actually reduce the chances of procrastination because your mind will find it an easier time to make small gains than big ones. For my goal, I first aimed to break 5:10 and then 5:05 before finally getting under 5. Because when I was at that fitness level, shutting down each individual second was very difficult. So by getting closer and closer, I was able to gain more confidence that I could eventually get there. So with your goal, try to focus on making marginal gains by breaking your target down within the time that you have. So if you remember the example earlier, which I said about losing 5 pounds in 30 days, you can aim for 1 pound in 6 days, 2 pounds in 12 days, 3 pounds in 18 days, and so on, until you finally lose 5 pounds. Another important point with your strategy is to focus on one goal at a time. The rule is that the more effort you put into something, the greater the odds are of you becoming successful. If you try to work for 2 or more major goals at the same time, there is a very good chance that it will take much longer to reach them than if you just worked on one at a time. When I was getting in shape for a sub 5 mile, I was also encouraged to run an 800 meter race in 2 minutes and 20 seconds and a 2-mile race in under 11 minutes. I happened to hit those targets as well, but getting into shape for peak performance for those races requires different workouts and runs than for a mile. So I decided to primarily focus on the mile, which ultimately gave me the marginal gains I needed for my goal. So whatever goal or habit you are trying to get, I guarantee you that you will have a much better chance of getting to where you want to be if you focus on one goal at a time and give it your full attention. The last tip for your strategy is to surround yourself with people who want the best for you. When you tell people about your goals, you will find two kinds of people: those who support you and those who don't. The more supporters you have, the more motivation you will receive and the more you will be held accountable. One thing you should know is that you will get haters all the time, but it is your choice to whether you want to listen to them or not. When I wanted to run my sub 5 mile, about half of the team was fully supportive of me hitting the target, and the other half didn't care at all. In fact, that half would have certainly felt much better about themselves if I did not reach my goal, so they would have always told me hateful things like I was not worthy of running a mile in under 5 minutes. But it was my choice which voices I want to listen to, and that only made me train harder. And those are all the tips that I have to help you reach your goals. But there's one last thing I need to share with you. If you ultimately fail to achieve your goal, it's okay to feel down about it. That is human nature. At that point, there are really two cases. The first is if you literally have ran out of chances to achieve your goal. I get it. You give it 110%, you do everything right, and you still don't get what you want, usually because of something you cannot control. The thing is, there are some things in life that just aren't meant to be, whether we realize it or not. But you should know that if you never reach your goal, there will always be more opportunities in life that will come to you if you take advantage of them. So keep living your life, try out new things, and put in everything you got, no matter what you do. However, the other case is if you do have another chance to achieve your goal, which in reality is much more common than never getting a chance. What separates the successful from the rest of the crowd is usually the ability to bounce back. If you fail to achieve your goal but have another chance, what matters is that you don't beat yourself down for too long. You need to learn from your mistakes, move on, and focus on the next opportunity that you have, because you only get so many tomorrows. Remember that failure is never a step backwards unless you make it that way. So, to sum up everything we covered in this video, there are 3 key principles for achieving your goals. The first is to write it down as specifically as possible and keep it somewhere which will allow you to be held accountable. The second is to be dedicated from deep down inside of you. How badly do you really want to get this goal? Remember to have a reason why you want to get your goal, know your reward for achieving it, have a plan for when times are hard, and eliminate all possible distractions. The last is to have a well thought out strategy, which is usually more specific to your individual goal, but should follow some general rules. Be sure to write out all the factors that you know will contribute to your goal, and only focus on the ones which you can control. Break your goal down into smaller tasks wherever possible, focus on only one goal at a time, and finally, surround yourself with those who want the very best for you. Did you find value in this video? If you did, it would be awesome if you left a like down below. Do you already use some of these tips that I talk about? Was there a tip that you thought I left out? Tell me in the comments. I would love to learn about how you guys achieve your goals. And as always, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and rapidly reform your life for the better. Remember, you can have whatever you want, but only if you have the courage to pursue it. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and best of luck with all of your goals.